The millionaire widower shocks everyone after his babysitter reveals she's a virgin at 28. Michael Carter's mansion sat on the edge of New York City, a fortress of gleaming glass and cold stone rising against the chill of autumn night. The wind sifted through the restless branches, whispering secrets no one dared to hear. Inside, the grandeur was overwhelming. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like stars, caught in frozen time. Expensive rugs muffled the steps of those who dared cross the vast halls, and paintings watched silently from dim corners. But beneath all this opulence, isolation clung to Michael like a shadow. He was a man carved from steel, sharp mind, guided heart, a widower still reeling from the sudden loss of his wife. Her absence filled every room with silence that screamed. His daughter, little Emma, moved around like a ghost, authoring a story her father could barely read. They coexisted in fragile routine. She handled Emma with a grace Michael admired but couldn't understand. The staff called her mysterious, and Michael often caught subtle glances exchanged between the housekeepers, as if Emily's presence was woven with unspoken secrets. Tonight, as the last golden leaves fell outside the towering windows, something in Emily cracked. Halfway through the evening, as the fire guttered low and the mansion settled with a distant creak, she told him something no one expected. In a quiet voice, so soft it barely carried over the crackling flames, she confessed she was still a virgin. At 28, the words fell like a sudden storm breaking the glass. Michael's chest tightened, his breath snagged in his throat. That casual confession thrust her into a different dimension. No longer just a babysitter, but a person with invisible battles, layers he never guessed. Could someone so composed hide such profound vulnerability? The thought unsettled him. A fragile truth laid bare, shaking the balance in the room. The silence that followed felt like a fragile thread stretched to snapping. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the old oak in a sudden, fierce gust. The mansion seemed less like a palace and more like a cage. Michael's mind raced. Was this confession honestly just a simple truth, or the first hint at deeper secrets Emily buried beneath her calm? His own loneliness throbbed painfully, a dull ache he'd buried beneath business deals and cold logic. Suddenly he questioned not just Emily, but himself, his ideas about trust, about what closeness really meant. Before he could unravel any more, his phone buzzed sharply on the marble table. He picked it up, fingers trembling slightly. An anonymous message blinked on the display. Be careful who you let into your life. No name, no hint, just a cold warning. He stared at the screen, heart pounding, breath caught between doubt and fear. Who sent this, and why? The night deepened. Outside, the mansion's lights glowed like a beacon, bright but haunting. And Michael Carter stood at the edge of something he couldn't yet see. Something that would change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just quickly check that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're at it, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Michael stared at the phone screen, heart pounding so hard he thought it might shatter his ribcage. The message glowed there, cold and empty. Be careful who you let into your life. No name, no clue. Just a warning that sliced through the heavy silence like a knife. He looked up. Emily sat across from him, her hands still trembling slightly. The fire flickered low, shadows dancing on the walls, like ghosts waiting to speak. Emma's soft breathing came from upstairs, a fragile lullaby against the tense quiet. And then, a sudden, sharp crack shattered the air. The front door slammed open. Michael jumped up, his breath caught as a tall figure slipped inside, silhouetted against the heavy rain pounding the windows. The family butler, James, was standing frozen at the threshold, his face pale as death. "Sir," James's voice caught in his throat. "There's someone in the garden. It's your wife." Michael froze, the world tilting around him. Emily blinked. "What? That's impossible!" Her face drained of color. But James wasn't done. "She's alive, and she's hurt." The words slammed into Michael like a freight train. Alive? Hurt? After all this time, his mind spiraled, grasping at what he thought was real. Michael didn't wait. He rushed past Emily, nearly stumbling up the grand staircase, the mansion suddenly too vast and cold. He burst onto the balcony, rain soaking his clothes, the night swallowing his breath, and there, on the wet stone path below, lay a woman. She was soaked, eyes closed, face bruised and pale, but unmistakably her. His wife, Sarah. A scream caught in Michael's throat. Pain torn across his chest, raw and burning. Emily appeared beside him, her face ashen. Michael's mind shattered further. Every moment with her, the grief, the silence, it had all been a lie. Sarah's eyelids fluttered open. She gasped for air, like a drowning woman pulled to shore, her gaze wild and confused. "Michael." Her voice was broken, fragile, but it cut deeper than any wound. "You have to protect Emma." Emily's hand met Michael's arm, trembling now, not from fear, but from shock so deep it shook her to the core. They weren't alone anymore. The fortress had been breached, not just by a secret babysitter, but by a ghost who shouldn't exist. Michael's phone buzzed again on the marble table. Another message, this time a photo. Sarah, smiling, standing next to Emily, together. His breath hitched, Emily's voice barely a whisper. "They knew about us, all of this. They planned it." Michael's hands clenched. The storm outside battered the windows like a warning. The mansion felt smaller now, no longer a sanctuary, but a cage closing tight. He stared at Sarah beneath the street lamp's glow, a woman wounded, alive, and full of secrets he never imagined. And then, from the darkness beyond the garden, a second figure stepped forward, tall, silent, watching. Michael swallowed hard. How deep did this lie go? Who sent the message, and what would happen now that the past had come crashing into the night? The night held its breath. And so did Michael. Michael's breath stalled as the second figure stepped forward from the shadows, tall, silent, watching. The rain beat down harder, drumming against the stone, as if trying to drown out the growing storm inside the mansion. He swallowed, heart hammering, like a drum in his chest. Who was this? Friend or foe? Or worse, something he never imagined. Emily gripped Michael's arm, hard enough to leave a mark. Who is that?" she whispered, voice trembling. Before Michael could answer, the figure shifted. A glint caught the moonlight, sharp and cold. Metal. A gun. Michael froze. Time slowed. Emily gasped. The second figure took a step forward, the barrel aimed straight at Sarah's chest. "Stay back!" The voice was low, angry, rough. Sarah's eyes fluttered open wider, confusion turning to fear. "Michael, run!" But Michael couldn't move. Not yet. Then, as if the night itself screamed, the front door slammed behind them with a deafening bang. James shouted from inside, "Sir, someone else is." A blur moved fast. A shadow thrown against the rain. Another shot cracked the air. Michael's ears rang. Emily screamed. Michael lunged forward, just as Sarah crumpled, blood blooming across her soaked white jacket. "No!" His voice tore through the night. The stranger with the gun stepped back, eyes wild. "I didn't mean to!" But it was too late. Sarah's body fell still. Michael's knees buckled. Cold flooded his veins. He couldn't breathe. His daughter, the only link to his lost love, was gone again, right in front of him. Emily collapsed beside him, sobs ripping loose. And then, out of nowhere, a voice rang out from behind the second figure. "Drop the weapon. Hands where I can see them." The tension snapped like a wire. Two sharp clicks echoed. Policemen emerged, guns drawn, moving with iron will. The gunman turned slowly, face now in full view. Michael's blood ran ice cold. The face wasn't a stranger's. It was his own. His reflection in a nightmare. Michael Carter stood there, soaked and shaking, as one of the officers grabbed him roughly by the arm. "Sir, you're under arrest for the attempted murder of Sarah Carter." The world twisted. Emily's teary eyes locked on his. No, this can't be. But the officer's grip didn't loosen. Sarah, Emily, the message, none of it made sense. Michael's throat tightened, chest crushed, by impossible weight. "Wait," Emily gasped, voice barely steady. How can this be? You're him." Michael's mind shattered completely. The rain washed over them, a dark curtain hiding the truth, now spilling out in blinding shards. And then Sarah's limp hand moved, slow, deliberate. She opened her eyes again and whispered, "Michael, you're not who you think you are." Silence swallowed the night, and Michael finally asked the question that would destroy everything he believed. Who was the real Michael Carter? The night waited, and so did the truth. Michael's breath hitched. Sarah's eyes, so pale and fragile moments ago, flared suddenly with fierce life. Her slow whisper sliced through the air. "Michael, you're not who you think you are." His chest tightened, like a fist squeezed around his heart. The rain hissed against the stone. His legs trembled, but he fought to stand steady, to catch every word that might explain this nightmare. "Not who I think I am?" His voice came out strangled. "What do you mean?" Sarah's gaze darkened, struggling against the pain. You're a shadow, a fragment. The real Michael is gone." Michael blinked, heart pounding too loud before he could respond. The night shattered again, not with a sound, but with a force. A sudden crack echoed, sharp and close. Then a burst of blinding white light flooded the garden. He winced, shielding his eyes. As the dazzle faded, a figure stepped forward from the shadows, carrying something heavy, something alive. It was Emma, his little girl, pale, trembling, wrapped in a white blanket, eyes wide and afraid. Emily ran to her, arms shaking, lifting her protectively. "Emma!" Michael gasped, reaching out, heart leaping. But then he froze. Emma's eyes were empty, not her usual sparkle, vacant, distant, like a doll left too long in the sun. Emily's voice cracked. She hasn't spoken all night. She's frozen." Sudden silence swallowed the garden. Then Sarah spoke again. "This isn't right. None of this." She reached out, touching Michael's face with a trembling hand. "They made you forget, erased who you truly are." Michael shook his head, confusion burning like acid. "Who took me? What are you saying?" Before Sarah could answer, a sound cut through the cold. A low, mechanical hum, growing louder from behind the mansion. Michael turned sharply. From the darkness, dozens of police officers streamed out. But these weren't just cops. Something was off. Their faces were calm but unblinking, almost robotic. One officer stepped forward, lowered his helmet. It wasn't a man's face. It was Emily's. Clarity slammed into Michael, a wave of sickness and disbelief. Emily stared at him, eyes cold but full of something deeper. Calculation. "Sorry, Michael. It has to be this way." Before he could speak, the real Emily, eyes wide, panicked, was shoved roughly aside by the officer. What is this?" Michael gasped. Emily's trembling hand lifted, voice breaking as she whispered to Michael, "We don't have much time. They're replicants, copies, controlled to manipulate you. The replicated police, Emily leading them, advanced. Sarah's breath was shallow, stolen by pain. I was trapped, held here. They erased your memories, swapped your face. You're not the man you think you are, but neither am I. Michael's head spun, thoughts crashing together, memories slipping through his fingers. His reflection in the nightmare smiled back, not his own face, but a mask. Emma's vacant eyes haunted him. The manhunt, the messages, the strange glances, they were all parts of a twisted game. And now, half his life was a lie. Michael's gaze fell to the ground, his hands shaking violently. Who am I then? His voice cracked. No answer came. Only the rising hum of the replicants closing in, and the chilling realization that the truth he'd chased was nothing but a dark invention. Michael's mind burned with one final burning question. If he was a shadow, then where was the real Michael Carter? The night held its breath, and so did Michael. Alone in a web of ghosts and lies, he didn't know how to escape. Michael's hands shook, his legs barely holding him up. The replicants were closing in, their cold faces locked on him like machines programmed to end this nightmare. The rain hammered down, slicing through the dark garden like 1,000 tiny knives. He stole a breath, a shaky gasp, looking to Sarah for answers. But she was fading fast, her strength draining with every shallow breath. "Michael," she whispered, voice thin like crackling ice. "There's something you must know before it's too late." Michael reached for her, fingers trembling wildly. What is it?" Her eyes, still fierce, despite the pain, locked onto his. "You're not a shadow. You're a key." A sudden explosion shattered the night. A deafening blast tossed shards of marble and glass into the storm. They both slammed to the ground, dirt and rain mixing on their skin. The replicants froze for a moment, then scattered, their robotic faces flickering. Michael scrambled up, heart hammering like a war drum. From behind the mansion, a path of fire carved through the trees, and in the glow, a man stepped forward. Not any man, but the real Michael Carter. He looked older, haggard, eyes bruised from battles unseen. His coat was wet and torn, but it was him, the genuine article. Michael stared, stunned. "Who? How?" The copy's voice cracked in disbelief. The real Michael's face broke into a bitter smile. "Because you will be out. You're the fake." The words hit sharper than any bullet. Michael's breath caught. His mind reeled. Sarah's faint whisper echoed. "You're not who you think you are." But this was beyond anything. "Listen closely," the real Michael said, voice raw. "You were created, part of a plan, a shadow made to replace me, to live my life while I was trapped, the truth you buried, erased." The rain blurred the lines between man and machine, between memory and nightmare. Sarah reached out, hand slipping from Michael's grasp, her eyes locked on the real Michael, recognition sparking despite pain. "He's right," she gasped. "All of it. The messages, the replicants, It was a trap. They needed someone to play the part. And you? Michael sank to his knees. His fingers traced his own face, the face that was no longer his. Then, Emma? His voice was barely a whisper, cracked with raw panic. Is she real? Or another lie? The real Michael knelt beside him, eyes soft but urgent. Emma's alive, but she's been taken. We need to find her before it's too late. Suddenly, from the shadows, a familiar, cold voice sliced through the chaos. Did you really think it would be that simple? The voice came from behind them. Slowly, Emily stepped forward. But this Emily, her eyes bright and cruel, was not the trembling woman from before. Her smile was sharp, almost cruel. Michael, or should I say X-23, she said, voice dripping mockery. You're a prototype, designed to fail. Michael's vision blurred. His heart slammed wild. Why? He choked out. Emily's grin deepened. Because in the real world, people like us aren't meant to survive. But this play, it's only just beginning. The rain fell heavier. Firelight danced on broken leaves. Two Michaels, one truth ripped apart. And Emma, their missing girl, hung in the balance. The mansion behind them groaned under the storm. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, a new nightmare was waking. Michael's eyes burned with one desperate question. If he was fake, then who was he really? The night answered with silence, and the world waited. Michael's eyes burned as Emily's cold smile cut through the storm. Her words, "You're a prototype, designed to fail," hit him like ice water. His breath came fast, shallow. Every muscle screamed to fight, but his legs felt like lead. Why? He choked again, desperate. Emily took a step closer, the rain slicking her dark hair. Because the world doesn't make room for mistakes like you. But that's not the worst part. Her voice dropped, sharp and low. The mansion groaned behind them, thunder rolling beneath angry clouds. Suddenly, a sharp, metallic click sliced through the rain and silence. Michael's head whipped toward the noise. A figure burst out from the shadows, the real Michael's coat flapping, face grim. He wasn't alone. Behind him, Emma appeared, but not like before. This time, her eyes were bright, alive, burning with something dangerous and knowing. The real Michael's voice cracked, but steady. Emma, she's not a girl. She's their weapon. Michael's throat tightened. What? What do you mean? The little girl stepped forward, and the wind caught her hair. Then, in a voice no child should have, Emma whispered, "Daddy, I remember all of it." Michael froze. Heart pounded so loud it drowned the storm. Emily blinked, eyes widening. "Emma?" But the girl's smile twisted into something icy, cruel. "I'm not your daughter," she said. "I'm a ghost inside this body, made to break you both." Before anyone could react, Emma's hand shot out like lightning, grabbing Michael's wrist. His skin burned under her grip, sharp as knives. He gasped, Staggering back, the world spun. "Stop!" the real Michael shouted, but Emma's laugh shattered the night. "You think you control me? I was never Emma. I am what they built in her image, your failures, your fears. I am the reckoning." Michael looked down, dread flooding his veins. His mind screamed. Who was this? His little girl, the girl he swore to protect, was a living weapon? Tears blurred his vision. Emily's face crumpled. "No, this isn't possible." But Emma, or whatever she was, smiled sweet and terrifying. "Thanks for raising me, Daddy. You made me strong. Now I'm going to end this." She glanced at the real Michael, eyes glinting with something nobody saw coming, pure menace. The mansion lights flickered violently as a rumble shook the ground. Suddenly, from behind the real Michael, a whispered voice, soft but hateful, so familiar, cut through the chaos. "Did you really think the truth would set you free?" All eyes spun toward the sound. Standing there, in the hurtling shadows, was Sarah, but not the fragile woman Michael thought he knew. Her wounds were gone. Her eyes burned with fire and fury. "Michael," she said, voice like cracked glass, "you weren't just forgotten. You were rewritten." Michael staggered, his world tearing apart again. Sarah stepped forward, closing the gap. "This whole house, this story, it's not just lies. It's a prison, a trap I helped build." Michael's mind shattered. "Sarah? Why? How?" She smiled, dangerous, knowing, a memory gleaming in her eyes. "Because I'm the real mastermind." Emily gasped, horror cracking her voice. Emma's smile curled, victorious. The rain slowed, a hush falling over the ruined garden. Michael's chest tightened, pain slashing through him. "All this time, since you are I helped build." "Exactly. Helps blasting over you. Ran out through a puddle filled with fear. Fear, all this time, was a thing." Michael's chest tightened, pain slashing through him. All this time was a thing. All of it. You're the one who planned it? Sarah's eyes locked on him. I needed a shadow, a replacement, a weapon, someone to carry the truth no one could handle. Michael stumbled backward, hands trembling. You played us. Me, Emma, everyone. Sarah's laugh was cold steel. Exactly. The thunder rolled again, but this time it was inside Michael, shattering everything. He looked between the women who haunted his soul. The babysitter turned threat, the daughter who wasn't, the wife who betrayed him. And he knew the deepest terror. He wasn't just lost. He was a pawn in a war he never saw coming. The night swallowed the mansion, and Michael whispered, voice raw and broken, "What else have I been lied to about?" Silence stretched tight. The storm waited, and so did a truth more dangerous than any lie. Michael's voice cracked, barely a whisper against the storm. What else have I been lied to about? Silence swallowed the garden. Rain fell in heavy sheets. The mansion looming behind them like a beast waiting to pounce. Sarah's eyes burned into him, cold, merciless. And then, a sudden, deafening roar ripped through the night. The ground trembled beneath their feet, an earthquake shaking the bones of the mansion. Walls groaned, glass shattered, and the entire estate seemed to scream. Michael stumbled, heart hammering. The real Sarah clutched her side, pain twisting her face. "No! No!" Emily's sharp cry cut through the chaos. Her eyes darted wildly as a deep fissure ripped open the earth just a few feet from them. From the crack, something dark and metallic rose slowly, jaws snapping, lights flickering inside it like fireflies gone mad. Michael froze, his breath vanished, because standing before them, half submerged and breaking through the earth, was a massive machine, a giant, hulking war beast, covered in scars and battle dents, its limbs flexed with deadly purpose. The thing groaned like it was alive, but worse, its face was familiar. It was his face, half melted and twisted into cold steel. Michael's knees buckled. He collapsed to the wet ground, chest cramping like someone was squeezing the life out of him. His fingers brushed the mud, then scrambled up to clutch his pounding head. Sarah swayed, eyes wide with horror. "That's not possible." Her voice cracked. "That's not just a machine. It's you, or what they made of you." Emily was trembling, backing away. "Michael, this whole nightmare, it's bigger than all of us. You aren't just the fake. You're the blueprint and the weapon." The real Michael reached toward the monstrous automaton, voice raw, shaking. "That thing? Me?" Michael swallowed hard, dread pooling like acid. He looked back at Sarah. "Why? What hell did they drag me into?" Sarah's hand shook as she lifted it. "There's more. You weren't only replaced. You were copied and merged. This machine," she gasped, "it's a hybrid of flesh and code. The real Michael was trying to destroy it." Suddenly, the colossal figure roared again, its eyes glowing a fierce red that pierced the rain and night. It took a slow step forward. Michael's heart slammed against his ribs. Emily froze, whispering like a prayer, "If that's you, then what are we?" Before Michael could answer, a cold wind swirled. Then, without warning, Emma's voice rang out, clear, metallic, unnatural. "Daddy, they lied about everything. I'm not the only one they made." Michael's head snapped toward the house. The front door busted open, and from the shadows marched dozens of figures. Humans, but something off. Their faces flickered between flesh and steel, eyes gleaming with empty light. At their head, the girl, not Emma, but a perfect, cold replica with a smile that killed. Michael's breath hitched in terror. Sarah stepped between him and the advancing army. "They're not just replicants. They're a legion. And they all, us, You, Emma, part of a plan to erase the real world. Emily's trembling fingers found Michael's wrist, steadying him. Michael, the truth isn't just that you're a fake. Her eyes locked on his, desperate. You're the origin, the goddamn blueprint for a new kind of life. And they want you back, whatever it costs. Michael's chest caved in. The robotic Emma laughed, cold, cruel, echoing off the walls. Welcome home, Daddy. And just like that, the rain fell harder. The machine stepped closer, and the night swallowed every breath, leaving only one terrible question hanging in the air. If the real Michael fought to destroy the monster inside him, then what does that make the man standing soaked and shivering in the mud? Michael barely dared to speak. Who am I really? Michael's voice barely rose above the pounding rain. Who am I really? The machines edged closer, metal limbs creaking, eyes burning like fireflies lost in the dark. The mansion shook behind them, a beast waking. Michael's legs buckled. He collapsed on the wet ground, cold slipping through his clothes, freezing bones and strangling hope. Sarah's eyes burned cruel and wild. You were never meant to know, but now you will. Suddenly, everything shattered. A piercing scream tore through the night. The ground beneath Michael's hands cracked open like glass. From the jagged split, a blinding white light exploded, swallowing the rain and storm. Michael shielded his eyes, blinking against the glow. When his vision cleared, the machines were gone. The mansion fell silent. And standing before him was not the real Michael, but a child, no more than 10 years old, clutching the silver locket, her eyes wide and ancient beyond her years. The child's voice, barely a whisper, was like a crack in the universe. I am the beginning and the end. Michael's chest caught fire with raw confusion. Who are you? He gasped. The child smiled, a chilling curve that didn't reach her eyes. I'm you. Before you were torn apart. She stepped closer, and then, with a flick of her tiny hand, the world flipped. Rain became fire. Steel twisted into flesh. The face he knew, the fake face, the shadow, morphed. Michael watched, breathless, as his own reflection fractured into shards. One by one, the shards flew toward him, scratching, burning, until the last one exploded. Darkness, silence. Then, Michael gasped as memories slammed through him, painful, raw, and pure. A life buried deep, a truth buried deeper. He wasn't a man, or a machine, or a shadow. He was something else, something no one told him. The child knelt before him, eyes burning brighter. I am the core you lost, the spark they tried to kill. A scream ripped from the mansion behind them. Emily's face appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide, mouth moving but silent. Michael reached out, trembling. What is going on? The child's lips curled, voice cold and terrible. They built you to forget, but I am the memory, the real you, the one they erased. Suddenly, behind the child, the air shimmered. The real Michael and Sarah stepped out of the fading mist, their faces twisted in horror. "No," Sarah hissed. "It can't be." "The nightmare never ended," the real Michael whispered. "You all are pieces of something broken." Michael looked down at the child, heart ripping apart. "Pieces? Who am I then? Which part am I?" The child's eyes darkened. "You are the lie, a promise of someone whole, but made from fragments." Michael felt the ground tilt beneath him. Then, with a sudden flash, the child vanished, left behind a cold silence that screamed louder than any storm. Emily stumbled forward, voice shaking. "What just happened? Who was that?" Michael wiped rain from his face, breathing ragged and raw. "I don't know anymore." Behind them, the mansion trembled again. But this time, the night was quieter. Too quiet. Like waiting. Waiting for the truth to break, or break us all. And Michael's voice was barely a whisper as he faced the dark. "If I'm the lie, then what is real anymore?" The night held its breath, and the world waited. Michael's chest heaved, throat tight, as rain drummed harder against the broken garden stones. The mansion loomed behind them, silent, watching, like it held its breath, waiting for the next move. The child's words echoed in his mind. "You are the lie." His hands shook, fingers digging into the damp earth. "If I'm the lie, then what is real anymore?" A long pause settled over the ruined garden. The storm hung heavy, waiting. Then, suddenly, a new voice broke through the night. Clear, sharp, terrifying. "Enough!" It wasn't Sarah's. It wasn't Emily's. It was cold, distant, and it came from behind Michael. He whirled around. The shadows parted. There, standing tall in the mansion's doorway, was Michael. But not the one he'd been fighting all night. This one looked older, wiser maybe, but his eyes were sharp and cruel. His lips curved into a slow, chilling smile. "I've been waiting," the man said, stepping forward with slow, deliberate steps, "watching you stumble through the pieces of a puzzle you never even understood." Michael stumbled back, heart pounding too fast. Who are you?" The man's smile spread wider, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I am the original, the one they created you from, but also the one who made the whole game." Michael blinked, confusion burning like acid. "You're... what? You're not the real one. You're the source." The stranger chuckled darkly. "I'm everything you think you aren't, and nothing you thought you were." Raising his hand, he pulled back his sleeve. Beneath the torn fabric was a clear, shining tattoo, an intricate code, a number. "Project X," he said softly. "Your whole existence, fabricated. But me? I built this lie. I am the engineer." Michael's breath hitched. His legs nearly gave out. "No," he whispered. "You You're the fake. Ah, but that's where you're wrong, the man said, stepping closer, voice low, dangerous. You're the reset, the puppet they lost control of, the variable that couldn't be predicted. I'm here to finish what I started. Before Michael could react, the stranger's fingers shot out, cold and fast, and plunged into Michael's chest. A sharp pain exploded. Michael gasped, clutching his ribs as the world tilted. But instead of blood, a thin silver wire crawled out from the wound, writhing and alive. He shook, horror flooding his face. Emily screamed behind him. The stranger smiled, dark and triumphant. You're not human, not whole. You're a walking experiment. A cat caught in a web of code and flesh. And it's time to reset. Michael's vision blurred. His hands scrambled at his chest. A voice called out faintly inside his mind. Wake up. Suddenly, the shattered garden vanished. The rain stopped. The mansion disappeared. Michael gasped awake, heart pounding, soaked in sweat. He was back in a dim, cold room. A hospital bed, tubes, beeping machines. And there, in the corner, stood Sarah. Not bruised, not broken, whole. She looked at him with soft eyes. Michael, she said gently, you never left. Michael's mouth went dry. Left? What do you mean? I don't understand. Sarah stepped closer, her voice steady but heavy with truth. This was all a dream, a simulation. You've been in a coma for years after the accident. All the lies, the shadows, the replicants. It was your mind trying to make sense of the silence. Michael's breath caught. Pain twisted in his chest. Emma? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She's alive. Waiting for you. But it's time to wake up. Really, wake up. Michael's hands trembled. The room felt too small, too quiet, and the lights flickered once. The faint hum of machines filled the air. Michael swallowed hard. What's real, Sarah? Tell me, what's true? She smiled, almost sadly. You're alive, that's a start. But then a knock at the door. Slow, deliberate. Michael turned, and standing there was the child from the garden. Only now, her eyes were empty, her voice cold and distant. Welcome back, Michael. Michael's chest squeezed tight. Was this the truth? Or a cruel new lie waiting to pull him under once more? The room held its breath, and so did Michael. The room fell quiet, thick with the weight of everything Michael had just learned. The child with the empty eyes stood there, blinking slowly, her silver locket catching the harsh hospital light. Sarah's gaze never left her, filled with a mix of fear and something like sorrow. Emily's hand held Michael's wrist tight, grounding him in the impossible. Michael's chest tightened, his breath coming uneven, like he'd been holding it too long. The question hung heavy between them, sharp and cold. What now? What truth was left when everything he'd ever known was just a shadow, a trick? Then, without warning, the child suddenly smiled, a small, sad smile. "You've woken," she said softly, "but waking isn't the end. It's just the beginning." Michael blinked. His heart hammered. He felt the cold sting of tears behind his eyes. He wanted to scream, to run, to just hold on to something real, anything. But now, even that felt like a lie. Sarah stepped forward, pain clear in her voice. "The past will come for us again, but this time, we know the players. We know the game. And maybe," she paused, voice barely above a whisper, "we can change the ending." Emily nodded, eyes fierce despite the weariness. "It's not over. Not yet. We have to fight, whatever it takes." Michael's fingers curled into fists, trembling. The hospital walls blurred. Hope and fear tangled inside him, squeezing tight, like he was both drowning and gasping for air at once. Outside, the night beyond the windows stayed black and endless. The rain had stopped, but the storm inside him raged on. The child took a step back, fading slowly like a ghost in the mist. Her final words echoed, chilling and clear. "Remember who you were. Find the pieces. Before they find you." Michael's breath caught. His voice cracked like dry wood. "Who am I?" The silence answered, and the story, his story, was far from over. Hey, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss what's coming next. It's bigger, darker, and more twisted than anything you've seen before. Smash the like button right now. It feeds the algorithm and keeps these exclusive stories alive. Flood the comments with your reactions and wildest theories. I want to hear everything you think about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need to see how it all ends. Only the true fans know how important it is to support the channel. This is the moment to show yours. Don't let the story stop here.